Midnight. Glass exploding. 3 cops surrounding one man, and Wilson was the one they called suspicious. Rain hammers the Toyota's roof. Officer Jake Miller's nightstick comes down hard. Window fragments scatter across wet asphalt like diamonds. Miller reaches through the jagged opening, grabs Wilson's jacket, yanks him into the storm. Wilson doesn't fight back, doesn't shout, doesn't run, just looks up at Miller with steady, unblinking eyes. "You don't remember me, do you?" Miller signals his backup. Sergeant Williams and Captain Hayes close ranks. 3 badges, 3 weapons, 3 men who've forgotten the most important face of their careers. "Should we?" Miller laughs. The rain washes blood from Wilson's hands. But it can't wash away memory. Some faces disappear into time. Others return when justice demands it. This man knows something they don't. 15 years ago, Detective Daniel Wilson owned these streets. Badge number 347, 23 years on the force. Millbrook's finest. He trained the rookies, solved the cold cases, saved lives that others wrote off. Wilson knew every corner, every dealer, every family that needed protection. The community trusted him. Officers respected him. Criminals feared him. Then everything changed. Corruption scandal, front-page headlines, Wilson's mugshot staring back from every newspaper in the county. Evidence tampering, witness intimidation, money in offshore accounts. The trial lasted 3 months. The verdict took 12 minutes. Guilty on all charges. Wilson lost his badge, lost his pension, lost his family. Wife packed up. Kids wouldn't speak to him. 23 years of service erased overnight. The man getting pulled from the Toyota tonight? That's Daniel Wilson. But Jake Miller doesn't recognize him. None of them do. 10 years in exile changes a man. Breaks him down, rebuilds him differently. Wilson's hair grayed, weight dropped, scars accumulated. The hero they once knew disappeared into someone else entirely. The officers who worked under him forgot his face. The community that loved him turned away. The department that built him up tore him down completely. But Danny Wilson isn't done with Millbrook PD. Tonight, he's back. Not for revenge, not for redemption, for justice. The kind that takes patience. The kind that requires perfect timing. The kind that waits for exactly the right moment to surface. And Millbrook PD has no idea what's coming. Because sometimes justice wears a badge. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it wears the face of a man they tried to destroy. This man knows something they don't. Miller drags Wilson to his feet. Glass crunches under their boots. 2 more squad cars arrive, lights flashing, no sirens. Sergeant Williams steps out. Captain Hayes follows. 3 officers, 1 target. "What's the situation?" Williams asks. "Suspicious behavior," Miller reports. "Vehicle stopped in a residential area. Subject acting nervous." Wilson stands between them, hands at his sides. No resistance, no fear. "Acting nervous?" Wilson's voice is steady, measured. "I was sitting in my car." "In a neighborhood that's seen multiple break-ins," Hayes adds. "At midnight, in the rain." Wilson nods slowly. "Fourth Amendment protects that. Terry versus Ohio, 1968. Reasonable, articulable suspicion requires more than location and time." The officers exchange glances. "How does this guy know case law?" "You a lawyer?" Williams asks. "No." Wilson studies each face. "But I know police procedure, search and seizure, Miranda rights, chain of custody." Miller shifts uncomfortably. "You seem to know a lot about police work. Experience teaches hard lessons." Wilson's eyes lock on Hayes. "Captain, how's your daughter doing? Started college this fall, right? State University?" Hayes freezes. "How do you know about my daughter?" "People talk. Small town. Word travels. But it's more than that. Wilson knows details, personal details, the kind only family or close friends would know." "Miller," Wilson continues, "your father would be disappointed in how this is going." Miller's hand moves to his weapon. "Don't talk about my father." Tom Miller, 32 years on the force, retired as lieutenant. Always said the badge represents something bigger than the man wearing it. How does this stranger know his father's service record, his rank, his philosophy? Wilson turns to Williams. "Sergeant, your mother still volunteer at St. Mary S. Soup Kitchen every Thursday?" Williams steps back. "What the hell is this?" "I'm just making conversation. Officer safety, right? De-escalation techniques. Establish rapport with the subject. These aren't lucky guesses. Wilson knows their families, their histories, their secrets." "Let's see some ID," Hayes demands. Wilson reaches slowly into his jacket, pulls out a wallet, hands over his driver's license. Hayes studies it under his flashlight. Daniel Wilson, local address. The name doesn't register. They don't connect it to anything. 10 years erases institutional memory. You live around here? Williams asks. I'm back home, after a long time away. Doing what? Consulting work. Private sector, security assessments. It's not technically a lie. Wilson has been consulting, just not the kind they imagine. Miller circles the Toyota, shines his light through the windows. Vehicle's clean, no visible contraband. But Wilson knows what comes next. He's seen this play before. Pop the trunk, Hayes orders. Wilson hands over the keys. No argument, no hesitation. The trunk opens. Clean, nothing illegal. No weapons, no drugs, just a small suitcase and some legal documents. Miller examines the paperwork. What's this? Employment contracts, background checks, standard corporate security stuff. All true, all boring, all useless for building a case. Williams checks the registration, current, legal, properly insured. Hayes runs the plates. Clean record. No warrants, no violations. They're building towards something. Wilson can feel it. The setup, the plant, the manufactured probable cause. Step away from the vehicle, Miller orders. We need to conduct a more thorough search. Wilson complies, moves to the sidewalk, watches them work. Miller's movements are deliberate, practiced. He's done this before. Williams positions himself to block the dashboard camera's view, standard procedure for what's coming next. Hayes plays lookout, watching for witnesses, patrol cars, complications. Wilson memorizes every detail, every violation, every step of their choreographed deception. There's something familiar about those eyes, the way Wilson watches them work, like he's seen this exact scenario before, like he knows how it ends. Miller's hand trembles as Danny speaks his father's name, because somewhere deep in his memory, a connection is trying to form, a recognition that won't quite surface. But it will, when the time is right. Wilson waits, patient, calm, ready for what comes next. How does this stranger know their secrets? Miller searches the glove compartment. Nothing. Center console. Nothing. Under the seats. Still nothing. Wilson watches from the sidewalk, rain soaking through his jacket. He doesn't shiver, doesn't complain. Williams opens the driver's door, examines the door panel, checks under the dashboard. Hayes keeps watch. Radio silent. No calls for backup. No supervisor notification. They're working clean. Off the books. No official record until they need one. Miller moves to the passenger side. His hand slips into his jacket pocket, comes out with something small, wrapped in plastic. Wilson sees it happen, doesn't react, just watches. Miller's hand slides onto the passenger seat. Quick movement, practiced, clean. Hold up, Miller calls out. I've got something. He emerges with a small plastic bag, white powder visible inside. Well, Williams says. Cocaine. Personal use quantity. Hayes nods approvingly. That explains the nervous behavior. Wilson doesn't protest, doesn't act surprised, just smiles slightly. That's not mine, he says quietly. They all say that, Miller responds. Chain of custody starts now, time-stamped, documented. But there's no chain of custody, no witness signatures, no evidence bag numbers, just 3 cops and a convenient discovery. Wilson knows the game. He's watched it played before, from the other side. You're under arrest, Hayes announces. Possession of a controlled substance. The handcuffs click shut, cold metal against Wilson's wrists. He doesn't resist, doesn't struggle. You have the right to remain silent, Williams recites. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Wilson knows his rights, better than they know them. He says nothing. The ride to the station is quiet. Wilson sits in the back seat, studies every camera, every intersection, every violation of protocol. No seatbelt secured, no prisoner transport log, no notification to dispatch, sloppy work. The kind that creates problems later. At the station, processing begins. Booking photos, fingerprints, property inventory. Wilson submits to every procedure, calm, cooperative, patient. The fingerprint scanner beeps, processing, searching databases. Wilson watches the screen, knows what's coming, what the system will find. Interesting, the booking officer mutters. Wilson's prints are already in the system. Old entries, previous arrests, previous employment. But the booking officer is new, young, doesn't recognize the significance. Previous record? Williams asks. Something from years back, before my time. The details scroll by. Arrest dates, case numbers, employment history, none of it registers. Institutional memory doesn't extend that far back. Wilson is processed like any other suspect. Mugshot taken. Property secured. Cell assigned. The evidence bag sits on a desk. No chain of custody. No witness signatures. No proper documentation. Someone's about to get a very big surprise because those fingerprints will trigger alerts, background checks, supervisor notifications. And when they do, everything changes. The evidence bag has no chain of custody. Danny's fingerprints are already in the system. The cell door closes. Wilson sits on the narrow bench. Waits. 10 years of waiting. 10 years of planning. 10 years of building toward this moment. Everything is proceeding exactly as expected. Detective Sarah Davis works the night shift. Third-generation cop, badge number 891. 12 years on the force. Her computer chimes. New arrest processing, standard notification. Daniel Wilson, possession charges, booked 20 minutes ago. Sarah clicks through the file. Routine paperwork, nothing unusual. Then the fingerprint match loads. Her screen freezes. System searching, cross-referencing databases. The match comes back. Daniel Wilson, former detective, badge number 347. Sarah's breath catches. She knows that number, that name. Her father used to talk about Danny Wilson, called him the best detective Millbrook ever had, until everything went wrong. Sarah was 22 when the scandal broke, fresh out of the academy. Her father was a 10-year veteran then, Officer Michael Davis, shot and killed during a routine traffic stop 3 months after Wilson's conviction. The case never solved. No witnesses, no leads, no justice. Sarah scrolls through Wilson's file. Service record, commendations, awards, then the corruption charges, the trial, the conviction. Something doesn't fit. Sarah's father never believed Wilson was guilty. Said the evidence was too convenient, too clean. Good cops don't just turn bad overnight, her father used to say. Something else was going on. Sarah pulls up her father's case file. Unsolved homicide. 3 months after Wilson's fall. Coincidence or connection? She cross-references the dates. Wilson's last active investigation, her father's death. The timeline overlaps. Wilson was investigating a corruption ring, internal affairs, high-level cover-ups. Her father was working patrol, low-level beat cop. No apparent connection. But Sarah remembers something. A conversation overheard. Her father on the phone. Wilson was asking questions, right questions about people who didn't want answers. Sarah opens the evidence files. Wilson's last investigation, Operation Clean Sweep. The file is marked Active Investigation, Do Not Close, but it was closed, abruptly. After Wilson's arrest, Sarah's computer screen flickers. System access warning. Some files require supervisor approval. She bypasses the warning, uses her detective credentials, accesses the restricted data. Wilson's investigation targeted specific officers, specific departments, specific evidence rooms. A pattern emerges. Missing evidence, disappeared witnesses, cases that fell apart at trial, all connected to the same group of officers, the same chain of command. Names start appearing, familiar names. Sergeant Williams, Captain Hayes, Lieutenant Miller, Jake's father. Sarah's heart pounds. Her father's name appears in Wilson's notes. Officer M. Davis, potential witness, claims knowledge of evidence tampering, willing to testify. Her father was going to be Wilson's witness, the one who could prove the corruption. Then her father died. Wilson got convicted. The investigation died with them both. Sarah opens the file she was never meant to see. Her father's death wasn't random, wasn't a routine traffic stop gone wrong. It was a silencing, an execution, a loose end tied off. Sarah's hands shake. 12 years of believing her father died serving his community. 12 years of not knowing he died because he tried to serve justice. Wilson's investigation documented everything: names, dates, methods, amounts. A corruption ring that stretched back decades. Millions in stolen evidence. Thousands of compromised cases. And her father was going to expose it all. Sarah checks the current duty roster. Williams, Hayes, Miller, all still active, all still in positions of power. All still covering up her father's murder. The case that destroyed Danny Wilson isn't closed. It's been waiting, gathering evidence, building toward this moment. Sarah reaches for her phone, stops. Who can she trust? Who's clean? Who's compromised? Wilson sits in a cell 2 floors down, the man who tried to give her father justice, the man who lost everything for trying to do what's right. The man who's apparently back to finish what he started. Sarah looks at her computer screen. Wilson's arrest report, the planted evidence, the procedural violations, history repeating itself, the same players, the same methods, the same corruption, but this time, Wilson isn't alone. This time, he has an ally who knows the truth. Her father's killer wears a badge. Sarah powers down her computer, makes her decision. Justice delayed isn't justice denied. Sometimes it's justice prepared, and preparation time is over. Wilson makes his one phone call, not to a lawyer, not to family. The number he dials connects to an automated system. Government office, after hours. You have reached the mayor's office? If this is an emergency? Wilson enters an extension, waits. Code verification required. Wilson speaks a series of numbers, letters, official designations. The line clicks, transfers, connects. A voice answers, professional, expecting the call. Confirmation received. Timeline proceeds as scheduled. Monday morning, 8 a.m. Wilson hangs up, says nothing to anyone, returns to his cell. Meanwhile, Sarah receives an anonymous email, encrypted, untraceable. The subject line, "Your father's case, new evidence." She opens it. Wilson's picture. Current booking photo. Below it, "Everything you've learned is true. Monday changes everything. Be ready." Sarah checks the timestamp, sent 3 minutes after Wilson's phone call. Connection confirmed. Alliance established. She checks her calendar. Monday is 3 days away. City Hall announcements load on her browser. Staff meetings, administrative updates. One catches her attention. Personnel announcement, new police chief appointment. Monday morning, 8 a.m., same time as Wilson's phone call referenced. Sarah digs deeper. Official releases, mayor's statements, board approvals. The new chief's name is redacted pending formal announcement. Standard procedure, but the timing isn't standard. Emergency appointment, immediate start date. Outside appointment, not promoted from within. Sarah's mind races. Wilson's arrest, the phone call, the Monday timeline, pieces connecting, pattern emerging, plan revealing itself. Williams and Hayes work the weekend shift, joking about Friday's arrest. "Crazy old man thought he knew police work," Williams laughs. "Probably watched too many cop shows," Hayes adds. They have no idea what's coming, no sense of the timing, no awareness of the countdown. Miller texts his father. Updates on the arrest. Pride in his police work. Lieutenant Miller retired years ago, but he still has connections, still knows the system. He texts back, "Good work. Keep the streets clean." None of them remember Wilson's face, his voice, his significance. 10 years erases details, softens memories, creates false security, but some records never fade, some systems never forget. Wilson's employment file sits in archives. Badge number 347, service record intact, commendations, awards, performance reviews, and termination documents, conviction records, disgrace documentation, all waiting for Monday morning, when everything becomes relevant again. Sarah works through the weekend, compiling evidence, building files, preparing documentation. Wilson's old investigation, her father's murder, current corruption, all connected, all documented, all ready for revelation. The phone call wasn't to a lawyer. Sarah checks the calendar. Monday is 3 days away. Danny's evidence request isn't random. Sunday night, 7 p.m., 25 hours until the announcement. Wilson sits in his cell, calm, patient, ready. Sarah sits at her desk, files organized, evidence prepared, allies identified. The countdown continues, hour by hour, minute by minute, until Monday morning changes everything. Bail hearing Saturday morning, public defender appointed, standard procedure. Wilson appears via video link, orange jumpsuit, calm demeanor. Judge Harrison presides, routine docket, minor offenses. State versus Wilson, possession charges. The prosecutor requests high bail, flight risk, out-of-town defendant. Wilson's public defender argues for release, first offense, community ties, but before the judge rules, an interruption. Your Honor, private counsel entering appearance. A woman in an expensive suit approaches the bench, files paperwork. Catherine Morrison, representing Mr. Wilson. Morrison is a name everyone recognizes. High-profile defense attorney. Major cases, serious money. How does a possession defendant afford Catherine Morrison? Bail is set at $50,000, Judge Harrison announces. Morrison doesn't hesitate. Bail will be posted immediately, Your Honor. Cashier's check, pre-prepared, pre-signed. Someone was expecting this hearing, planning for this outcome. Wilson is released within the hour. Outside the courthouse, Morrison walks beside him. No conversation, no instructions. She hands him a car key, points to a black sedan. "Monday morning," she says quietly. "Everything's ready." Wilson drives away. Morrison disappears in a different direction. Sarah watches from across the street, taking photos, documenting connections. Who paid Wilson's bail? Who hired Morrison? Who's orchestrating this operation? The questions multiply. The answers remain hidden. Wilson drives to a hotel outside town, checks in under his own name. No deception, no hiding. Room 247, third floor, view of the police station. He unpacks a single suitcase, clean clothes, personal items, official documents, and something else. A small recording device, voice-activated, digital storage. Wilson places it on the nightstand, presses record. Day 1 complete, assets in position, timeline confirmed. Monday morning proceeds as scheduled. His voice is different now. Professional, authoritative, official, not the voice of a suspect, the voice of someone in command. Sarah drives to the hotel, parks in the lot, waits. 20 minutes later, Wilson emerges. Different clothes, professional appearance, suit and tie, polished shoes, badge holder on his belt, badge holder, not a weapon, a badge. Sarah follows at distance. Wilson drives to the police station, parks in the visitor lot, walks to the main entrance, stops at the memorial wall. Names of officers killed in the line of duty, her father's name among them. Officer Michael Davis, killed March 15th, line of duty death. Wilson stands before the memorial, silent, respectful. Then he speaks, quietly, like a prayer. "I'm sorry it took this long, Mike, but Monday we finish what we started." Sarah's eyes fill with tears. This isn't just about corruption, it's about her father. Wilson returns to the hotel. Sarah approaches the memorial, her father's name, etched in black granite, gold lettering. She's visited this wall hundreds of times, never knowing the truth, never knowing he died as a hero, trying to expose corruption. Wilson knew her father, worked with him, planned to save him, but failed. Lost everything in the attempt. Now he's back, to complete the mission, to honor the fallen. Sarah drives home, calls in sick for Monday, claims family emergency. She needs to be at the station Monday morning, needs to witness what happens, needs to see justice for her father. Wilson spends Sunday preparing, reviewing files, checking equipment, confirming details. His phone rings once, unknown number. "Status report," a voice asks. "Green across the board, Monday morning, 0800 hours. "Understood. Good luck, Chief." Chief, not suspect, not defendant. Chief. Sarah doesn't know who paid Danny's bail. The real investigation starts now. Monday is 60 hours away. Wilson walks the hotel room, pacing, planning, preparing for the most important day of his career. The day justice returns to Millbrook. The day his father's killers face consequences. The day everything changes. Sunday passes quietly. Wilson disappears from public view. Williams and Hayes work their shifts. Normal patrol duties, routine calls, no mention of Friday's arrest, no concern about the suspect, just another drug bust, another conviction in the system. Miller texts his friends, brags about the arrest, posts photos of the damaged vehicle. Cleaned up the streets Friday night, another dealer off the corner. His friends respond with approval. Congratulations, support for good police work. None of them know the truth, the planted evidence, the violated procedures. They see a hero. Wilson sees a criminal in uniform. Sarah stays home, reviews files, organizes evidence, prepares for Monday. Her computer shows Wilson's case status, released on bail, court date pending, standard progression, nothing unusual, nothing to raise alarms. The system processes Wilson like any other defendant, routine, mechanical, efficient, but some cases aren't routine. Some defendants aren't ordinary. Sunday evening. Wilson returns to public view. Same hotel, same room, but different appearance, professional attire, confident bearing, command presence. The transformation is remarkable. Victim to authority figure, suspect to leader. Sarah drives past the hotel. Wilson stands at his window, looking toward the police station, studying the building, the layout, the approaches, like a general planning a campaign, a chess master positioning pieces. Wilson's phone rings. Final confirmation call. All departments notified, media alerted, staff meeting scheduled. Copy that, thanks for everything, Morrison. Catherine Morrison, the defense attorney. Part of the plan, part of the team. Wilson hangs up, checks his reflection in the mirror. 23 years as a detective, 10 years in exile. Tomorrow, a new beginning. The joke will be on them. Danny Wilson is done hiding. Miller, Williams, and Hayes sleep peacefully. Dreams of successful careers, bright futures. No nightmares about planted evidence, murdered witnesses, corrupted justice. Their confidence will evaporate in 8 hours. Monday morning starts in 8 hours. Wilson sets his alarm. 6 a.m., 2 hours to prepare. 2 hours until he reclaims his badge, his authority, his mission. 2 hours until justice returns to Millbrook. Monday morning, 7:45 a.m. Millbrook Police Department, Conference Room B, all personnel attendance mandatory. New chief introduction, standard procedure. Williams arrives early, coffee in hand, casual conversation with colleagues. Hayes follows, straightening his uniform, preparing for first impressions. Miller enters last, still groggy. Weekend celebration catching up with him. They take seats in the middle rows. Good view of the podium, professional appearance. Sarah positions herself in the back corner, digital recorder ready, phone camera prepared. The room fills, 37 officers, 12 detectives, 5 administrators, 8 a.m. exactly. Mayor Richardson enters. Professional smile, prepared remarks. Good morning, everyone. Today marks a new chapter for Millbrook PD. Standard speech, budget priorities, community relations, performance metrics. Your new chief comes with extensive experience, impressive credentials, strong recommendations. The officers listen politely. Routine transition. New leadership. Same job. Please welcome Chief Daniel Wilson. The name hangs in the air. Familiar. Forgotten. Impossible. Wilson enters through the side door. Full dress uniform, badge gleaming, command presence. The room falls silent, recognition dawning, shock spreading. Williams drops his coffee cup. Ceramic shards scatter across the floor. Hayes grips his chair arms, knuckles white, breathing shallow. Miller stares, mouth open, processing impossibility, reality crashing down. Wilson approaches the podium, calm, confident, in complete control. Good morning. Some of you know me. Others should have. His voice fills the room, clear, authoritative, unmistakable. I'm Daniel Wilson. Badge number 347, 23 years service, recently returned from a 10-year consulting assignment. Consulting assignment, not prison, not exile, not disgrace. Wilson's eyes scan the room, landing on specific faces, holding specific gazes. During my absence, I've learned interesting things about this department. He activates a laptop, projects images onto the wall screen. Evidence analysis, pattern recognition, systematic investigation. The first image appears. Friday night. Wilson's arrest, multiple camera angles. Hidden surveillance footage, independently operated, continuously recording. Clear video of Miller planting evidence, Williams blocking cameras, Hayes standing lookout, frame-by-frame breakdown, timestamps, digital authentication, evidence tampering, conspiracy to commit fraud, violation of civil rights under color of law. Miller tries to stand. His legs won't support him. Hayes reaches for his radio. Wilson's voice stops him. Don't. You're not going anywhere. The second evidence layer appears. Audio recordings, digital surveillance, voice recognition, pattern analysis, conversations from the arrest scene, planning sessions, coordination calls. Miller's voice. Planted under the passenger seat. Williams' voice. Make sure the cameras can't see. Hayes' voice. This stays between us. Conspiracy to violate federal civil rights. Racketeering, criminal organization. Sarah sits forward, watching her father's killers exposed. Justice finally arriving. The third evidence layer loads. Financial records, banking analysis, money laundering investigation, federal asset tracking, bank accounts, wire transfers, cash deposits, pattern documentation. 15 years of systematic theft, evidence room raids, asset forfeiture fraud. Numbers scroll across the screen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, dozens of accounts, Miller family accounts, Williams property purchases, Hayes investment portfolios. These funds trace to missing evidence, confiscated assets, disappeared property. Wilson advances to the personal confrontations. Jake Miller, your father Thomas wasn't just my partner. He was the architect of this operation. Miller's face drains of color, family legacy crumbling. Thomas Miller recruited corrupt officers, organized the theft, managed the cover-ups. Wilson displays Thomas Miller's bank records, secret accounts, hidden assets. Your father didn't retire honorably. He fled before exposure, left you to inherit his crimes. Sergeant Williams, your mother doesn't volunteer at St. Mary S. She launders money through the church donations. Williams staggers backward, family shame exposed. Captain Hayes, your daughter's college tuition paid with stolen evidence money, blood money from destroyed lives. Hayes collapses into his chair, career finished, family destroyed. Wilson's presentation continues, methodical, comprehensive, devastating. Operation Clean Sweep, my original investigation, never closed, just delayed. Sarah stands, walking toward the front, taking her position. Detective Sarah Davis has been assisting this investigation, providing internal access, documenting current crimes. Sarah addresses the room, voice strong, purpose clear. My father, Officer Michael Davis, was murdered for supporting Chief Wilson's investigation. Gasps from the audience, the truth spreading, understanding dawning. These officers killed my father, framed Chief Wilson, corrupted this department for 15 years. Wilson nods approvingly. Detective Davis represents the next generation. Clean officers, honest service, real justice. Federal agents enter the room. FBI jackets, handcuffs ready. Jake Miller, you're under arrest for conspiracy to violate civil rights. Sergeant Williams, federal charges for racketeering and money laundering. Captain Hayes, conspiracy to commit murder, federal death penalty eligible. The arrests proceed efficiently. Professional. Final. Wilson watches from the podium. Justice served. Mission completed. This department will be cleaned, reformed, rebuilt on proper foundations. The remaining officers sit in stunned silence, processing transformation, accepting new reality. Miller's father didn't just betray Danny. He stole evidence. The corruption goes higher than anyone imagined. This isn't just about one arrest. It's about 15 years of lies. Wilson closes his laptop, straightens his uniform, assumes command, questions. Silence. Good. Let's get back to work. Real police work. The shockwave spreads through the room, through the department, through the community. Justice has returned to Millbrook, and Daniel Wilson is here to stay. The arrests make national news. Corruption scandal, federal investigation, systemic reform. Miller, Williams, and Hayes await trial in federal custody. No bail. Flight risk designation. Additional officers implicated. Retirement announcements, resignation letters, career endings. Wilson's office overlooks the memorial wall, his father's name visible from his desk. The irony isn't lost. The disgraced detective now commands the department that destroyed him, but Wilson doesn't seek revenge. He seeks reformation. Sarah leads the internal affairs investigation, comprehensive review, complete transparency. Every case from the past 15 years requires examination, evidence verification, witness recontact. Hundreds of convictions potentially tainted, thousands of lives affected, decades of work ahead. The community responds with cautious optimism, trust slowly rebuilding, faith gradually returning. Wilson walks the same streets he patrolled 23 years ago. Different reception now. Children wave, parents nod approval. Business owners smile genuinely. The fear is gone, the corruption exposed, the protection restored. Wilson visits community centers, churches, schools, rebuilding relationships brick by brick. Police work isn't about power, he tells a group of young recruits. It's about service. The new officers listen carefully, learn proper procedures, understand ethical standards. Wilson's training emphasizes constitutional rights, community partnership, accountability measures. Every arrest requires documentation. Every search needs justification. Every use of force demands review. The old culture dies slowly. The new culture grows carefully. Sarah discovers additional evidence about her father's murder. Witnesses emerge. Testimony surfaces. Hayes breaks under federal pressure, reveals the conspiracy, implicates higher authorities. Michael Davis was going to testify. We had to stop him. The confession provides closure. Justice for her father. Peace for her family. Sarah visits the memorial wall, places fresh flowers, speaks to her father's memory. We got them, Dad. All of them. The corruption is over. Wilson joins her at the memorial. Respectful silence. Shared understanding. Your father was braver than any of us, Wilson says quietly. He chose justice over safety. So did you, Sarah replies. You lost everything for that choice, and gained everything that matters. The federal trial proceeds efficiently. Evidence overwhelming, confessions documented, guilt established. Miller receives 25 years. Williams gets 30. Hayes faces life imprisonment. Thomas Miller, located in Florida, extradited for trial. No statute of limitations on murder. The corruption network unravels completely. Assets recovered. Victims compensated. Justice served. Wilson's exoneration becomes official. Record expunged. Reputation restored. Legacy secured. The mayor presents a formal apology. The governor commends the investigation. The community celebrates, but Wilson remains focused on the future, building better systems, training honest officers, serving faithfully. Sarah earns promotion to lieutenant, heads the new ethics division, ensures continued accountability. Young officers join the department. Attracted by Wilson's reputation, committed to proper service, the transformation spreads beyond Millbrook. Other departments request training, share best practices, implement reforms. Wilson becomes a national speaker, police conferences, academic seminars, reform discussions. His message remains consistent. Integrity isn't negotiable, service isn't optional, justice isn't delayed. The Toyota Camry sits in the evidence garage. Glass still broken, interior still damaged. Wilson requests it for display, educational purposes, reminder of corruption's consequences. A plaque explains the significance. This vehicle represents the moment justice returned to Millbrook PD. Students tour the facility, learn about constitutional rights, understand police accountability. Wilson personally conducts many tours, shares his story, emphasizes lessons learned. Power without accountability becomes corruption, he tells visitors. Badges without integrity become weapons. The department receives national recognition. Excellence awards, reform commendations, model designation. But Wilson knows the work never ends. Vigilance remains constant. Standards require maintenance. New challenges emerge. Different temptations arise. Eternal vigilance proves essential. Sarah finds her father's old case files. Notes about other suspicious activities. Additional investigations needed. Some corruption dies hard. Some networks run deeper. Some work requires generations. But the foundation is strong now. The culture changed. The mission clarified. Wilson's hair continues graying. Years add wrinkles. Experience deepens wisdom, but his commitment never wavers. His standards never lower. His service never ends. The community trusts again. Children respect officers. Families feel protected. Crime rates drop. Conviction rates improve. Public satisfaction increases. The numbers tell part of the story. The human impact tells the rest. Sarah finally has answers about her father. The streets remember their protector. On quiet nights, Wilson walks his old patrol routes, remembering the journey, honoring the fallen. His radio crackles with normal calls. Routine problems, standard responses. The crisis is over. The corruption ended. The healing continues. Wilson keys his radio. Millbrook 1 to dispatch. All clear on Sector 7. Copy that, Chief. All units, all clear. The city sleeps peacefully, protected by honest officers, served by ethical leadership. Wilson returns to headquarters, checks the memorial wall, reads familiar names. Michael Davis, killed March 15th, line of duty death. But now the truth is known, the sacrifice honored, the cause remembered. Justice isn't always fast, but it's always possible. Wilson turns off the lights, locks the building, heads home. Tomorrow brings new challenges. Fresh opportunities, continued service. The badge means something again. The uniform commands respect. The department serves justice. Daniel Wilson kept his promise. Finished the mission, honored the fallen, and Millbrook is better for it. Justice delayed became justice delivered. Hope deferred became hope fulfilled. The hero returned. The corruption ended. The community healed. And that's how it should be.